All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. As I'm sure many of you are. Not exactly an exciting evening. Welcome back to another episode of the RomaPress podcast. We hope you are doing well, as always. If you would like to join the insane asylum that is currently ongoing in our Patreon group chat, you can go to patreon.com/RomaPress. And as always, to all of the feedback we have gotten on the video version of the podcast, we greatly appreciate your support. If you could subscribe to the podcast, the video version of the podcast, youtube.com/@IS Roma Press, it would be greatly appreciated. And again, thank you to all of you who have already subscribed. The response in these few months has been very overwhelming. So we greatly appreciate your support, which is very welcome on an evening like tonight, Andy. That match between Roma Slavia Praha was as exciting as a kick to the balls. That was a black hole of a match. There was nothing from it that I am going to try and paint as good, as positive. I don't know what I am supposed to take from that beyond the fact everybody is still alive. That's the only positive I have for that tonight. Nobody
Somebody
got.
on our most recent episode, rightfully so, suggested that we engage in a more in more analytical takes, so that we
Oh
analyze
gosh.
the actual performance, the actual tactics, not give, because they said, and rightfully so, I agree, because I know what they mean, that we get into it, and we get into it just from a feelings perspective.
Yes,
How are we feeling after a win? How are we feeling after a loss?
I absolutely agree with that.
Yes.
Just to interject, I agree with that. We
Yeah.
do get to the thing that I have a problem with is I think things have gone too far on the other side because I know every time I talk about the XG, expected goals, I can hear from the other side of the world, our poor friends in
Yeah.
Australia,
Yeah. No, but I
they
think,
shudder.
in what they're
More
saying
balance.
is,
That's fair. That's fair.
oh, also, but no, but I wanted to get into it, and I wanted to say that it becomes really difficult when we have to record these things right after the game,
Yes.
because, like, when you have a result like tonight, it makes it uh impossible to
Not to
break
have an
down
impact.
what went wrong, because as it is with Roma, there's not much that you can say about what was on the pitch. When it goes wrong, you can't really say about what it's not like, say, like Manchester United recently lost to Copenhagen. They Copenhagen completed a comeback, they won 4-3. Okay, well, there our good friend Goldbridge, or my wannabe friend Goldbridge, can
Yeah.
talk all he wants about strategy, because evidently there was something happened, and then the opponent got the better of them. Okay, there I get it. But like tonight, even Mourinho in his post match basically said, I don't want to talk about anything other than our horrible attitude. Our attitude was horrible. Attitude this, attitude that, attitude this, attitude that. So even the manager himself didn't want to get into the specifics of a match that really saw Roma just roam around the pitch, with no clear aim in sight, which is bizarre, because this whole game was, like, the whole motivation behind this match was, let's get it over with, let's win it, let's get a good result. We only need 1 point here, and we secure first place, and we avoid playing two unnecessary games in February. Okay,
I said
that was
this
the
like
whole
when
build
the
up.
conference league. It's like when I, trying to the first time you lose your virginity. It's basically do this without somebody getting hurt. Do this with Let's
Oh
just make
my
sure
God.
everybody gets home safe, and you
Oh,
don't do so bad. Like a Bodo, where it replays in your mind. That's how terrible you were.
yeah.
The same applies now. I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, yeah. There's just, yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much like that. That's
I'm
yeah.
projecting a little.
There is a good. That's a good allegory. Watching Roma perform as to the first time the time you lost your virginity. Trying to come up with something spectacular, and instead you're faced with your own incompetence and dread that follows. Um, Yeah. Oh, that was a bit too personal. But yes, definitely. Like this is, I can't come on here and pretend like I have anything worthwhile to say about the specifics of how our players perform. Because to
Right.
honest to God, today there was not much of a performance to speak of. And I understand. I think we'll try to get better when Roma win. We'll try to get better at analyzing what went right, because then it's also exciting. You can get into exactly what what works for the team, and you can praise certain players. And but tonight, what are we supposed to say? What am I supposed to say to about a team that knew fully well what the consequences were if you were to lose this match? They knew fully well. They went through it last year. They got embarrassed against Ludogorets, and then they had to play two more games in February with a depleted squad. So
Yes.
it's in these times, when it happens, it's so infuriating, because every time you think, oh, they've learned, they got it now, they got it now. They don't that's why I said, like, see that the argument is basically the same one as the one against when in the last episode against Lecce. When we came on here, what was it, on Monday, we said, this team is so unpredictable. We love it because that's what they do. They basically pull the rug from under you, and you don't really know how to react. Well, yes, that's the exact case today. You don't know how to react other than be extremely frustrated with something, again, that should have been straightforward. See, like,
Right.
in the good and the bad, Roma are always Roma, because it should have been straightforward, just like Lecce should have been straightforward. Tonight was anything but straightforward, just like Lecce was. But tonight you come out empty-handed and embarrassed. And I just, I totally get it. And I want to engage with more technical aspects. And I think it was easier when we would record this the day after, but it's fine as well. I mean, it's more immediate, and it helps vent stuff before going to sleep. But this is, I mean, this is like,
There's no
you
way
know,
to show. Listen, I think sometimes even to a fault, Jose Mourinho is able to find positives where, in other instances and in other matches, you and I probably would not be willing to give
oh,
Roma the benefit
absolutely,
of the doubt.
absolutely,
Um, in matches like this, where very rarely have I seen him just so beside himself. I mean, he went out to Sky Sport and he's like, full disclosure, I don't want to be on here right now, and I told the other guys nobody has to talk to anybody, because that's how bothered he was. If he's not able to draw any single positive from this, there is no
yeah. He was like,
possible way you and I can.
I could make excuses. I could say that El Sharawi had to play again because Zaleski was not available. But
Yeah,
tonight, nothing worked. Like, the moment that he gives up on in these occasions, you really understand how bad it was. Because Mourinho, as you said, always we always find a fault in it, that he always seems to dig into the tiny minor, inconsequential positive that you can then take home and pretend to be happy about. But tonight there was nothing, nada, nothing. I would not be surprised if Roma stay at Trigoria all the way until the derby. I would
oh
not be
my
surprised if that
gosh,
doesn't. No, because that's the latest
that
report.
is,
they're not gonna
yeah,
they're gonna
going
go back to
to
Trigoria.
retiro before Derby.
They're
That
gonna go back to
brilliant.
Trigoria the tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning they're getting there. They're having lunch together. So I don't see this, and God forbid, God forbid they get the derby wrong. I don't want to. We'll get into it later, but tonight I'm helpless. Like, I'm honestly, I don't know. I think even the great Johnny Carson, the greatest talk show host of all time, who was famous for being able to basically entertain an audience with just about any guest. So it could have been the most boring guest and he would still find a way. I don't know. Tonight what can we say? Do I do the Al Pacino shtick? Do I start to talk about Sopranos? Do we bring
It's so
out
funny
some?
because I just watched a video of the great Rodney Dangerfield when he was
Oh
on
yeah.
Johnny
Oh
Carson,
yeah.
literally about 3 hours ago.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. That would be great. But unfortunately,
oh, Roma, they don't give me no respect.
oh, oh, oh.
What the hell am I supposed to? I can't do a Rodney
Yeah, we don't,
Dangerfield.
no, we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have Rodney Dangerfield. We have Roma. Roma,
Yeah.
it goes from 0 to 100. You can either be like tonight, where there's literally nothing. Like I could go to the bathroom right now and would be more productive than what Roma did for 90 minutes earlier tonight. So it's upsetting. It's upsetting that you had a whole team out there, and mind you, not scrubs, not Primavera players, because I could have already, had we had Primavera players out there, Pagano, all those kids, I could have envisioned, Mourinho being like, okay, fuck it, it happens. Like
Mm,
this is one of the risks involved in this job. But no, tonight you had Lukaku. Mourinho made it a point to start Lukaku. You had Paredes
yeah.
back in the lineup. You had your whole defense, Llorente, Indica, Mancini. You had El Shaarawy. These guys, all experienced players. That players who've been there, have done it. What the hell? Like I can't imagine. Like I can imagine a game like this in Mourinho's first year. But come on, especially after two, not one, two European finals that saw you play 55 games a season, 2 consecutive years of 55 games, and now you have the chance to actually give yourself some time, buy yourself some time, rest a bit, and you squander it. Like you just had to draw. You just needed one
Right.
point.
Yeah, you could have shithouse for 90 minutes,
Absolutely.
get a 0-0. I wouldn't have I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
give
been bothered even in the slightest.
I
I
wouldn't give a flying fuck in a rolling donut. That's what William Friedkin once said about what Al Pacino thought about him. He said, I don't give a flying fuck in a rolling donut. And I absolutely agree with him. Tonight was just borderline unacceptable. Like, I feel embarrassed even coming on here pretending like we both have something to say, and then
No,
after
we
this, I'm
don't.
doing a live stream. So I'm getting all the people, all the hatred and the anger and the frustration out tonight. Tonight is the melting pot of every terrible human instinct.
Okay, so for if there is anybody here, watching or listening for the first time, I you and I have sort of a running shtick in terms of when it comes to these Europa League. And to be frank, it started with the Conference League when Roma won it in the inaugural season. It was introduced by UEFA, where you and I typically make fun of these sorts of games against. Typically more Eastern European size. You
Sure.
have to take a 25 hours trip to get to, and then you have to take a bobsled to arrive
Yep.
at the stadium. Um, I am in a way similar to Jose Mourinho when it comes to Thursday evening matches, whether it be Conference League, Europa League. Again, like Jose Mourinho, I am to a fault willing to give Roma any reason or excuse because I think there is something, whether we want to, you don't have to agree with it and we don't have to accept it. I think it is human nature that when you have a match like this, juxtaposed and coming just days before a huge match, one of the biggest matches in world football, I think it is natural to tend to look past this. Now, it's not right. I am not saying it's right. I am not saying that Jose Mourinho should excuse it. I am not saying Jose Mourinho should be willing to accept it. I am not saying supporters should be willing to accept it. I am not saying that in any way, shape, or form. I am saying it is simply human nature, whether we want to like it or not. I am willing most of the time for a match like this, where you are playing, a country that it's not a very challenging trip. It's a match just days after. You won a very emotional game at the death, and it is 2 or 3 days before your match against Lazio in the derby. I can understand Roma, the players, looking past this. I can understand it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, and it doesn't mean we have to be subjected to what we were subjected to this evening. We want to get more analytical. Anybody who knows, when it comes to XG, it is the statistic I think now football it has become far too data this data that, and I primarily blame Ramon Monchi for that, for a whole host of obvious reasons at his time at Roma, and also because he spelled my name incorrectly in messages for 2 straight years, and for the life of me, I think he just ruined anything when it comes to data analytics. I blame him for my
Shouldn't we
disdain for them.
blame Billy Bean or whatever his name is, the guy from Moneyball? Shouldn't we blame Jonah Hill for coming up with the statistics?
Well, no, man, Ramon does have this because he has talked about it, and he talks about
Yeah,
it
yeah, he
openly.
has like
He
a
does have
magic
this
computer.
obscene database, and he has the level of data that he has kept in this Excel spreadsheet. I am a normal person in the sense that when I see that green logo of Microsoft Excel, a cold sweat comes
Right,
over my body, and
right.
I begin to shudder, and not even my
Don't you have like
my
OCD? Don't you love that stuff? Like, aren't you
no,
supposed to
I
love,
do have obsessive compulsive disorder, but
right?
that sort of thing, I get overwhelmed extremely easily, and when I see just
Oh
numbers
God.
on a spreadsheet,
Oh God.
I begin to shake, and that's what he has, and he loves that stuff. So when it comes to a lot of these more in-depth statistics, I think what they've done in terms of football is they've made it the very I can't think of another word other than cold process, where we just look at certain data points and we just say, okay, that's it. No reason to watch the match. Um, I think there's a happy medium to be played because you can go to the other side of it where it's you're listening to Rete Sport, for example, and you hear 29 different pundits just not taking any of the data and they're just going by emotion. I do think there's a balance to be played. So again, fair play to the person who said that. We do have to be more use more analysis and data, and I do agree with that. In this case, when it comes to Roma and Slavia Praha tonight, if you had to guess what the XG of Roma was,
I don't know. I only know that the first
one less
shot
than
came.
more or less than one, more or less than one. The
The first
expected
shot.
goals of Roma to
I just know that the first shot came around the 50th minute. Roma took the first
yes,
shot on goal in the 50th minute
doesn't
in the
that
Czech
seem like the
Republic.
umpteenth match in a row where they've done that, where they haven't gotten a legitimate opportunity on goal until only 20 to 30 minutes remaining in the match? I don't understand it. Roma, they're actually tonight, and this is according to SofaScore, which is my one of my more preferred websites when it comes to the XG. Roma 0.38, Slavia Praha 2.05. I don't know what else to take from it beyond that. Total shots, 19 to Slavia Praha, 5 to Roma. Shots on goal, 6 to Slavia Praha, 2 to Roma. I mean, most of the time I say you need to watch these games to get a full encapsulation of the actions and all of the singular episodes that take place that make up a game. Not tonight. Nope. You can go if you were lucky enough to be working, or again, I don't know what the time difference is for our good friends in Australia. I just hope that they slept through this.
Yeah.
If they had the pleasure of doing so, just what you find when you type into Google result of AS Roma, it tells you all you need to know. You didn't need to
Oh,
watch.
after these games, like the search engines should like just like shadow ban everything Roma. Like after a game like this,
He takes that back, Google. He doesn't mean that. You and
you
I are
should
going
you
to be
should
you and I
you
are
should
going to
no,
be
you
eating on the
should you
streets
should
of
you should
San
be
Basilio. Marco Violi is going to have to take us into his flat, man. Relax.
no.
Don't
I'm just
shadow
saying.
ban.
I'm just
Don't have
saying.
to start heroin
People
like all the
people
others
should
outside his
not be
apartment.
people should not be exposed to this atrocity, and because it happens time and time again. And I you know I we have I am looking at, I know that You have more important things to do. I have an empty life. I don't have 35
No, don't.
children.
Oh, come on,
So
man.
I'm
Jeez.
looking I'm looking at what our patrons are writing, and a
Oh
lot of
no.
people are conflicted. Once again, after these games, it always happens like that. They trick you. That's why I say they trick you. So today, our patrons are once again conflicted about the quality of this team, right? So, you know, is this team shit? Is it like is a win against Monza in the final minutes off of El Sharawi's wonder strike, or Lukaku getting it right against Lecce at the death? Does it say that, does it tap into the negative aspects of the team, or is it something positive? And I
And we
guess,
just had 2 people leave the group chat, man. I think that's an indication people are being broken. They are being
yeah, they
dismantled
are.
after
They
this
are.
tonight.
They are. And I don't blame them. Like I said multiple times, we've built a bit of resistance by doing this, by being able to come on here, also having to be lucid, like, well, relatively lucid and balanced, to in order to even have something remotely
Yeah,
coherent to
relatively is
say on
the
here. Like, no, it's true. Like, we've been
you're
able
right.
to build up some form of resistance, that when we see these results, when we see these performances, we don't go automatically to the bathroom, and we don't pull an Ernest Hemingway. But uh,
That
you
got
know
dark quickly, man. Woof.
or yes, or Hunter S. Thompson, or a Kurt Cobain. I could go on. The point is,
Oh,
this
man.
team will trick you. So a lot of people are, again, conflicted about the quality of this team, and I totally get it. After tonight, you reflect on what happened against Lecce, you reflect on what happened to Monza, and you start looking at those games in a completely different light, because you're so deflated, because the absence of anything remotely resembling a team performance tonight, in a game that we said the stakes are still high. They're not, obviously, the motivation will not be as high as for the Derby, but tonight the stakes were high. Tonight you could have made life so much easier for yourself with the bare minimum. With the bare minimum, just press them, maintain some form of defensive solidity, and don't let yourself be embarrassed by a team that you yourself, multiple occasions, Mourinho and listen, I know that he imposed media silence. I know we have a lot of people that will give me so much shit. They will start throwing little daggers at my photo, at resemblances of me. But Mourinho is also involved in this capitulation tonight, because what tonight shows me is that you, as a manager, you don't have a total grip on how the
Mm,
team approaches this game. I don't care
mm.
what you say at the press conference. I don't care what you say after the match. If you say before the game that Slavia Praha cannot be underestimated, and then your own men, whom you train, you see every day, you travel
Great
with, you
point.
spend time with, they walk out there, and there is not a single semblance of that mentality of Slavia Praha cannot be underestimated. And mind you, this is, once again, this is year 3 of Mourinho, and a lot of these players have already been through it with him. Then what am I supposed to think? What am I supposed to say other than you're also implicated in this? You're also at fault. The team that is now being fairly criticized is your team. You are headed into the Derby with the awareness that you failed to reach one objective, which was to immediately qualify as first to the next round, avoid any pain in the ass games in February, when you are going to be certainly riddled with injuries, where you're still going to be looking to get back Evan Dika. You just a total nightmare of epic
Imagine where
proportions.
that match is going to be played. Which godforsaken
Good
Eastern European
God, man.
country.
Good God. Good God. And then you're looking at the Derby. Now, I would love to, again, maintain some positivity, because that's what I'm here for. We've changed
After
it around. I used to be the negative one, then we changed it around. Okay. I would love to be the positive person here. But if you ask me if I have an ounce of faith in this team going into the Derby against a Lazio that has shown little to anything this season, then my answer after tonight at this very moment is no, zero faith.
Oh my gosh. I was barely hanging on before we started recording. This might do me in. So it in all seriousness, in terms of depravity, perhaps I feel, you said like the Kurt Cobain and all this other stuff, being born before the year like 2002, we all grew up with liveleak.com and what was the other one? I believe the name was Ogrish. I don't know what it was called. Those sites where they put all of the most shocking content that explores the depths of human depravity. People
And like Pain
dying.
Olympics. Yes.
I mean, just
Yes. Just the worst.
humanity at its
Yes.
lowest caught on
Yeah. Now
video.
that we are on YouTube, I don't think we can discuss these things. Um,
No, but in all seriousness, I can't say I am at least somewhat not immune, but my meter for the level of depravity I may be willing to put up with might be a bit higher. But the thing, and you said it right off the top, and I haven't gone back to it. Most of the time, a match like tonight, you're playing in Prague, playing in a Thursday evening. It's ahead of a big match. Most of the time, and in fact, I would be willing and go out of my way to dismiss it. The reason I am so bothered, the reason I am so traumatized, the reason why I know I am not going to sleep well tonight is that was, and by the way, Jose Mourinho would have had every reason to do so. That was a strong team tonight. It was not as if you said where you were playing Bove, Pagano, all of these guys that, if they had lost 2-0, you could have said, okay, well, we played with him, we played with him. Reasons that you could have used as an alibi for saying, okay, well, we were playing with younger players because we wanted to keep people fresh ahead of the derby.
or like against Bodo, you played with rejects. Mourinho was
Yeah,
trying to make a
yeah,
point. I
Morata,
don't like these
Villar.
players. Here, look at them for yourselves and make your judgment.
Yeah, look at someday we will re-explore that match about how it was Jose Mourinho saying, "Look at this crap you've stuck me with." In all seriousness, though, tonight was not that. Tonight was guys that are dependent upon. Tonight is even somebody like a Salik who for some reason he goes missing every other 2 weeks, and I have to message his agent and do a proof of life contact to ensure that he actually is still alive and he hasn't been abducted. I can't make any sort of excuse. I can't give them an alibi. I cannot dismiss it because you had a team out there. By the way, a team that if you were playing most teams in Serie A, anybody maybe outside of the top 6 to 8, you would expect the team that was out there tonight to get a result.
Oh,
I
of
don't care if it
course,
was
of course. Again, it's not.
so.
We had barring Dybala and Cristante,
Oh, do we
we
want
had
to talk about
everybody out
what?
there.
I mean, I didn't know what to make of Paulo Dybala being out there tonight because I thought he would wrap him in
Yeah,
what do you call it? The cellophane,
yeah,
and keep him. I was surprised he even let him on the plane
yeah.
because
Because
he's getting off of the steps. He could fall down a twisted ankle. I thought he would keep him wrapped up. He's not even allowed to go out where into San Basilio. If he runs
yeah,
into
but that
Marco
just shows
Violi,
you how low. Like that's how low of a point was tonight. That's how low of
right?
a point. Like just again, like saying, "Oh, Lukaku, he's playing. I'm not resting him." And then you end up with scoring 0 goals with Belotti and Lukaku out there. Your first shot is at the 50th minute. Again, I don't want to. People come here to also get some kind of, again, coherent thought. Tonight, the only coherent thought is that I don't believe that this team from what they showed me tonight, I doubt them. Now I doubt them going
Mm.
into the Derby. And you can't say anything to me that will make me change my mind. You can't say that this outlook that I have starting from today until the Derby is, uncalled for, because it's called for. This team does it all on their own. I'm not doing anything here. I'm just taking what they're giving me. They give me
Well,
shit. I put it out there and I say they're shit. And tonight they were shit. Tonight they didn't do anything to earn some kind of respect where you go, okay, well, you know what? They tried, or hey, that's life, man. No, tonight was not life. Tonight was not up to the footballing gods. Tonight was not up to some external forces, circumstances, whatever. Tonight was only about you, what you wanted from this game, and what Roma wanted from this game. In theory, was easier access to the next round, and they didn't get it.
what I find most interesting is it is a complete flipping of circumstances coming into the derby. Lazio, they lost the weekend. They lost to Bologna 1-0. Roma, they win 2-1 late. The momentum, had it remained as such, completely different. Each side enters with a different mindset, a different feeling. Now at the midweek, it completely flips. You see Lazio, I mean, Immobile pulling one out of his backside late in the first half. They beat Feyenoord. Meanwhile, Roma, uh, unwatchable, and that's probably putting it in the nicest terms possible tonight against Slavia Praha. So now I really don't know how to interpret this coming into it. Kind of like you, my faith has been shattered. I mean, when you are watching Roma again, when I come into a match with Roma, most of the time you would be able to convince me of the result being one way or the other. It could be 7-0 in favor of Roma or against Roma, and I would reasonably be able to find a way as to how that could happen. That's how we are, I would say, most of the time. Now, coming into this match, coming into the derby now, I have so little. mm, I won't say faith, but I'm not confident in the least because you saw what Lazio did in the Champions League, and then we saw what Roma did tonight. Those midweek matches, they are so particular because they can do one thing or the other. They can either and you can make the case, win or lose. If you lose, it motivates you coming into the next league match. If you win, it propels you coming into the next league match, or you're too fatigued, whatever. They are very particular in the sense of you don't know in the moment what a specific result is going to have on you coming into the next game. For this one, though, for this one, you win late against Lecce, and you feel like as if this is something that can not only propel you in the Europa League, but it is something that you can take into the derby. Because I will once again affirm my position as much like what I said about Torino. Sometimes it is when a specific goal arrives. You could have drawn against Torino, and a draw against Torino is not the end of the world, but the fact that it came so late, it's a different feeling as opposed to had Torino, equalized 20 minutes before. I think the timing of things is what matters most. With this one, you have taken the confidence, in my opinion, that and the enthusiasm that you had gained from defeating Lecce late in the match to put out such a crap performance. I mean, it's not even as if this was Roma suffering for 90 minutes. It was not as if Roma. It's one thing if you have 30 shots on goal, and you just have a goalkeeper, and we've seen it 2,000 times. We have a goalkeeper who is crap 99.9% of the time, but against Roma, it turns into Gigi Buffon. That didn't happen tonight. You had a Roma that was, and I think this is what you said, non-existent. They were not there. So we're not even talking of you know, unlucky. We're not talking about lack of a technical quality that was missing tonight. We are talking about a team that did not appear. They were non-existent. Tonight was one-way traffic, and going into a derby, I that is about as bad as the type of performance you could have. Again, it'd be one thing to lose 2-0, but if the XG was 5 or something like that, I can accept it because it happens so many times. Now to have a team, you put in zero, nothing,
Yeah.
zilch, not a, you had nothing
Yeah.
tonight. How am I supposed to take that ahead of a derby other than feeling like total and utter shit?
And
I nothing.
that's their trick. That's their trick in the good and the bad. They make you doubt them, and it's awesome when they make you doubt, to then suck you in and bring you all the joy in the world by winning at the death against Lecce. But when they do this ahead of an important match and knowing fully well what the stakes are, it's not, again, most of the time I can't be bothered. Like, how many times I've seen this team lose to Bodo, I've seen this team lose to Astra Giorgio, I've seen,
Right.
things you people wouldn't even believe, like Juani Turbe in his last year with Roma, starting in the Europa League with Luciano Spalletti, Gerson, who had just joined, you know, supposedly the big next thing, and then looked like crap for us. So I'm fully aware of these types of games. I'm fully aware what they can mean. Most of the time, you know, they mean up to a certain point. But tonight was important. Tonight would mattered. And what pisses me off is that, not that I know it, but the team knew it. The team were fully aware of the consequences. What will happen if you make a mistake? Because now you have to win every single game in the Europa League group stage. So the next two games, and you have to pray to the footballing gods that Slavia slip up against Servette and Sheriff. Will that happen tonight? Again, team gives me zero reason to believe in them. I know how much Lazio care about the derby. I know that last season they won both derbies. I know that last season they
Yes.
showed more hunger in both derbies. They made the most of our mistakes, whereas we were left helpless once again. I don't know how much Roma want to win the derby. I know exactly what to expect from Lazio. That's the worst thing. I know what to expect from
Mm.
my opponent. I know what to expect from a team where Claudio Lotito is out there day and night working and throwing the headlines and throwing, these mottos for his fan base to pick on, and and get the players going, and again, 2 extra days of rest, a good result against Feyenoord, and boom, Lazio all of a sudden seem to have an advantage over us. And that's all your fault. Roma
Mm.
have only themselves to blame. So now you did this. Now you sit in it and you try and figure out what the hell happened, and you try to figure out why you had the attitude that you had tonight, which was, again, non-existent, because a lot of things happened tonight, but mostly it was on Slavia Praha's end, not on Roma's. Roma showed nothing. There was nothing. There's nothing in this game and in this episode to talk about, other than the fact that it was shameful. That was shameful because you expect a team that has worked with Mourinho for 3 years. I don't care what players he has at his disposal. I don't care if they're injured, if they're hurting, how they're feeling, or are they getting married? Is their child getting born? Whatever the hell happens behind the scenes, a lot of things happen with Roma. Um, a game like tonight, you have to get it right. End of. Like, that's the bottom line. And
So
the moment you get it wrong, you show me that I have no reason to trust you. And how many times I've said this on here, when I was so disappointed that I have to admit it. I don't know if I can trust you. And tonight I don't know if I can trust this team. That should not be the case for a group of guys that have been together for 3 years, some of them more than 3 years together. They know each other. They know this environment. They know what the expectations are. They know what the stakes are, and they know what Mourinho wants from them. And Mourinho knows his guys, so he's also involved in this.
mm,
And what happens tonight should never happen. Unfortunately, it happens way too often.
Matt, we are talking as if they just committed mass murder.
No, yes, exactly. Of course, yeah,
No,
and
but
rightfully so, because people always throw it as like, oh, guys, too balanced, too. It's true. We try to get, and tonight I'm balanced. Like, this is my balanced take. My balanced take is that you should have won and you didn't. Like, that's my balanced take, and that's the truth, Ruth.
All right. So clearly we are positive going into the weekend and the derby. Uh, Listen, unfortunately, this is something we have seen far too many times, and I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the fact we can't trust them on a night like tonight, where again, even if it was an ugly 0-0 where you shit house for 94 minutes, nobody would have complained. Now you have forced yourself, as you just said. You have to win your two matches, and then you have to do some praying to the forces that something happens and Slavia Praha slip up in one of these remaining group stage matches. So we're going to leave it there. Fingers crossed for the derby. We, I am I feel as if a part of my humanity rests upon what happens this weekend at the Derby because
Oh,
it is
I'm certainly going to do a live stream right before the derby to see
yeah,
what the thinking is among the populace.
I know.
And I don't expect fireworks. I don't expect, optimism through the roof. I don't
I don't
expect
know how you
anything.
could be. I don't know how anybody could be after what you were subjected to tonight. It would be one thing if this match didn't take place, or again, even if you had a 0-0 shithouse rematch. I don't think anybody should be overly confident coming into this, but I guess the blessing and the curse of this Roma is when you think you have them pegged or figured out, or you think you have found some sort of just some sort of consistency within them, they find a way to just flip the entire movie script on its head, and you
7 games, 6 wins. The only loss you had was against Inter coming into tonight. And
yes.
somehow you managed to flip the script.
That is the only thing we can hope for this weekend against Lazio. So we will be back. We will be recording directly after the match. So again, I am not overtly religious, but any forces, gods, spirits, whatever you want to call them, I'm barely hanging on. Do not make me do this after a poor result at the weekend. I know this doesn't. I cannot explain to you how difficult this is. We use before we did the video podcast. I had a thing where we would not do any recordings directly after the match because you get
Too
every that
involved,
just clogs.
it doesn't lead to anything productive. You
No,
get too,
it's right.
and it's true. Like, on one hand, it's, both are right, both are wrong. Both methods lead to something. Tonight, I think there is no other way to confront a shit show of these proportions
We would
and
have the
the
same feelings
implications of it.
tomorrow. There is no way anybody or anyway, there's no way for anybody to feel better about this, whether it be now or 48 hours from now. And by the way, they shouldn't. Nobody should feel good from this. Jose Mourinho, the players, nobody should feel good from this. This was a horror show. This was terrible. We just need for them to flip it around. This weekend against Lazio, we will keep our fingers crossed. Whew, okay. Until then, ciao.
Ciao.